When it comes to shonen anime, there's the peak of what the genre has to offer, and then there's FairyTal.
I'm kidding, relax. I actually like FairyTal. I mean, it has done some very bad decisions with its narrative, let's say, and it uses friendship powers more than the Care Bears. But for a fun shonen anime with decent action and boobs, you could do worse. Not to mention it has the hottest woman in all of anime, Lucy Heartfilia. I'm not making a joke, I'm not memeing. Lucy is one of the hottest waifus of all time. I mean, what doesn't she have? She's got that face, and that body, and... Recently, I've got a hankering to play some FairyTal games since a new one is coming out, or is already out. I'm not really following it that closely, but I do know that there's a sequel to an RPG that came out a while ago, and some Muso game based on some arc called Eden Zero. Never really heard of that arc, maybe it's from the 100-Year Quest. Hey. That's not FairyTal, that's Eden Zero. It's a different show. What do you mean it's different? Look, it's the same characters and everything. Yeah, the coloring is a bit off, I'll admit. But nope, they're different. FairyTal has dragons in a fantasy world. Eden Zero has dragons in space. Just look again. They are completely different. I'm not seeing it, man. Look again. It's the PS5 Pro shit all over again. Are you fucking with me?
Look, FairyTal, Eden Zero, Rave Master, who cares? I'm here to play FairyTal games. There are quite a few of them, actually. FairyTal was popular at its peak. Hell, it's even gotten the DBZ Super/Boruto treatment with the sequel series. I assume not a lot of people heard of them, because pretty much all of them were not released outside of Japan. And what console was more popular in Japan than the PSP? So of course, there are FairyTal games for it. The Portable Guild series, with 3 in total, all made around the first few arcs of the anime. So let's start with the original Portable Guild.
And let's be real, it's probably going to be a fighting game. Most shonen anime games are fighting games. I mean, see? I'm Natsu fighting other jobbers. It's a fighting game that requires me to fight giant monsters and collect material. There's a co-op multiplayer mode? I'm shook, can you believe it? An anime game that's not a 3D arena fighter. It's something unique. A Monster Hunter clone. In 2010 on the PSP. Oh no, this is gonna suck, isn't it?
Some of you may think, what do you mean, Bri? Monster Hunter is epic sauce. Haven't you seen the recent games? They're amazing.
Yeah, they are. Monster Hunter has done a lot of quality of life improvements over the years. The first one with an actual story mode released a few weeks ago. But have you played any Monster Hunter game before 2015? They kind of suck now. Yeah, for the time they were great, but that's because Monster Hunter was still pretty new at the time. We didn't know how good we could have it.
There are a lot of great game series where you can go back and still enjoy the original games. Not Monster Hunter. Don't believe me? Boot up a Monster Hunter game on PSP and compare it to Wilds. You'll be shocked how not playable it is.
And I know, I've played this series since the PS2 days. I'm an OG. And I'm not even saying a clone of Monster Hunter on the PSP will inherently be bad. There are some, like God Eater and Tokiden, I think are pretty decent renditions of the formula. But this is a cash grab anime tie-in, so my expectations are low.
And you know what? This one is bad. But it's not as bad as I expected. I'm not really going to touch on the story of the game, it follows the FairyTal anime at the time, shocker. But this came way in the beginning, I'm talking midway through Season 1. And considering development time of games, yeah, this doesn't cover much, so it throws in a half-assed original plot that's boring, so who cares? I mean, you don't play Monster Hunter games for the stories anyway, it's the gameplay loop. And this one is following it to a T. You got a hub area, you accept quests at, buy items from Mirror Jane, talk to guild members, all your basic stuff. The thing that separates it from most Monster Hunter clones is playable characters. Unlike Monster Hunter, where your playstyle is dependent on your weapon, here it changes depending on your character. But remember, this is early FairyTal, so it's slim pickings. Of course you got the main 4 and fan favorites like Droy. Unfortunately, the actual combat is kinda janky. Hits are very slow even when using a fast character, and the hit detection feels off, both from you and enemies. Even when you get a hit, the sound and animation give no feedback, you feel like you're punching air. And that's bad, especially when fighting big monsters. That's one of the things that makes the gameplay in these games so satisfying. It should feel like you're slicing or beating up a stupid chicken. In this game, I just mash buttons waiting for it to be over. There is another mechanic though, magic of course. It's easy, you use it by pressing circle, which uses your mana or whatever. Yeah, that's mana, not stamina, another Monster Hunter difference. Essentially big moves that do a lot of damage but take time to cast. The time can be long or short depending on the character and what magic they're using, and unfortunately, my girl Lucy kinda sucks. Because yes, she summons her celestial spirits, but they take a long time to come out, so the enemy can move out of the way, and you have to wait until you get enough mana back to cast it again, or waste your money on items to refill it. And her regular attack does dick all, so I had to try other characters. You get them by doing a special mission that unlocks sometimes after you clear a regular mission. In it, you fight either a member of FairyTal who's brainwashed or something that's tied to the story, it doesn't matter, or even some of the villains, like that guy who tried to sell Lucy into sex slavery in the first episode. Remember that? What the fuck? I'll beat him up and you can play as a sex trafficker. And you'll never guess who the best character in this game is. Natsu? Nope. Urza? Nope. The game's OC wrestler characters? Nope. It's this Dr. Seuss looking ass motherfucker. Jet. The reason is because I found out something interesting about that magic mechanic when I was playing. During the entire animation, including when you start casting it and until it's over, you are invincible. Yes, nothing can hurt you or interrupt you while you were doing this. And Jet's magic move was straight up broken because of this. It's a move that has him do multiple kicks with his wind magic that deals a lot of damage, barely costs any mana, and again, you're completely invincible during it. When I found this out, I just spammed this move and any semblance of difficulty in this game disappeared immediately. Nothing can stop the hurricane that is the biggest cat in the hat fan. You can upgrade your magic and get different spells by playing the character, but why would I do that? None of his other ones had this much payoff for such little effort. Another thing I discovered was if you're using a character that uses a ton of mana, like Urza, if you're fighting a big monster or boss, you can kind of lure them to the edge of the screen transition, use your magic, load the next area, wait till you get your magic back safely, rinse and repeat. Yeah, I don't think they tested this stuff. And since I was spamming the same move over and over, I got bored of this game pretty quickly. And yes, I even tried switching characters, but it was like choosing to bring a knife instead of a bazooka. One thing you may have noticed is I have not talked about one of the main things about Monster Hunter, collecting materials to craft cool armor and weapons. That's what it's all about, right? Well, this game doesn't have weapons, but it has awkward looking accessories that raise your defense that you use those materials for. Oh yeah, I grinded for 5 hours on the same monster, and this made it all worth it. I look so cool. Ultimately, FairyTal Guild Wars is a game. Even for the time, the only reason to play it is if you're a FairyTal fan and it was on sale. Because even when this game came out, if you just wanted a Monster Hunter game, both Freedom games were years old at this point, Portable was on the way, and God Eater was out at the time, so yeah, not worth it. Well, let's see if they improve in the sequel, Portable Guild 2. You see an immediate difference with now you create your own playable character. I give you FairyTal's newest member, FairyDal. I tried to write FairyDale, but it wouldn't fit.
I also intentionally made myself a girl so I can take a bath with Lucy like they do in the anime. Yes, I'm that creepy about this. You can't stop me. It's not illegal. She's a drawing.
In this game, you join FairyTal after running into Nalu and Happy, who gives you the Iron Fist, I think that's what it's called. My Japanese is better, but not perfect. A super special, awesome weapon only you can wield, and you join FairyTal uncovering the mysteries of the weapon, this OC lady, and some new OC guild. Once again, the story is half new stuff, while also following the FairyTal story with your OC awkwardly shoved in there now, and they have to really break up some events because of it. Like the Tower of Heaven arc, Urza's one, you remember that? It starts off saying where they all go on vacation without you, and then some members of FairyTal are like, hey FairyDal, Natsu and the others are in trouble, go help. You fight Jelal, then it's over. What was the point of that? So story-wise, gameplay-wise, because yeah, there are some minor improvements here. It did unfortunately lose the thing that made it unique, the playable characters, as you could only be your OC. The guild members are only your party members during quests, and they kind of suck. The AI in the first game wasn't great either, but here, since there are 3 at most, you really notice it. Usually they just stand there doing nothing, or blocking, or they run away. Very rarely are they actually useful. The only reason to pick specific characters isn't for what they do, but after a quest you get their SP. I don't know what that is, but I want all of Lucy's. This is used to upgrade your own magic, as you need certain characters' SP to unlock and upgrade certain magical moves. You also need monster materials. Because yes, since it's just you, this is the most Mon Hun-like game, with you using the materials you get to upgrade and craft weapons and armor. Yep, you have actual armor that changes your clothes. And accessories are still here to give you that drip. And while you have the Iron Fist, it's magic, so you can change it into multiple forms for different playstyles. You can be a pure mage using a classic staff or a giant key, like what you see Lucy. Go physical with a fist or a sword, or the weapon I picked, the dualies. I'm going full Lara Croft on whatever the hell this monster is. Now, unfortunately, I found this mechanic limiting because it really determines who you bring on your party, because your magic is limited to what weapon you pick. So, to get an upgrade for the gun magic, I mostly took with me Visca and Alzak, the 2 gun users, because they had the SP I need. The third one never really mattered. And again, you're not picking them for their gameplay, so it's no reason to switch. Which, yes, means I had to leave behind my main Jet. Only used him a couple times. Can't believe they did my boy like this. If you're wondering why I picked the guns, it's because, unfortunately, while there is more to do, it's the same game. Yes, some controls and stuff are different, but it's the same engine, so hits and combat still feel kinda bad. So I picked the guns because I figured I can just kind of stay back and mash, get free hits while the monsters targeted my teammates. I didn't really have to think. But it turns out this was a mistake because the monsters and even human bosses only target you. Even they realize your team is useless and don't focus on them. Yet they still die and get hit due to AoE attacks. Honestly though, while it has more mechanics, I kind of liked picking different characters in the first game. Yeah, I stuck to one because it was unbalanced, but it gave it more of an identity. With these changes, it's even more of a Monster Hunter clone than before, so I stopped after a few hours. Then there's the final one, dropping Portable Guild entirely, instead calling itself FairyTal Zerif Awakens. Again, this was early, so that's not happening for a long time. The reason it's called that is because it covers the Arakion Seis arc, which I think had something to do with Zerif. Look, it's been over 15 years since I've seen the show, alright? I just read the hentai now. And this game wouldn't really get me back into watching the show either, because it's the worst one in my opinion. The story is a Cliff Notes version of that arc that introduced the lollies, so fuck it. Gameplay is back to multiple playable characters. I didn't beat the last game, so I don't know what happened to FairyDal. I assume she went back to her home planet. Actual game feel, it's the same game, same engine. Shocker. Really the only difference is you don't craft weapons now. That's it, the rest is the same. Seriously, it's a literal copy and paste job of the second game, with some new characters and no weapon crafting. So it has less, technically? You can now customize your FairyTal character's hair. Okay, and the armor actually changes how they look. Well, that appeals to my horniness at least.
However, there's one thing that makes this game terrible to me. They nerfed magic. Hard.
Remember that shit was invincible in the first one? Well, it was the same in the second game, so I didn't bring it up. Here, though, they got rid of that. You can now get hit out of casting magic, which makes the ones who take forever, like Lucy, just unplayable. Not to mention, this makes it so now you have to rely more heavily on the clunky combat, which, yeah, no thanks. And yes, that's really the only major difference, and it's awful. Because they didn't make the long casting time shorter to compensate for them or make them more powerful, no, you just can get hit out of them now. So you spend most of your time running away, hoping you don't get targeted, and hoping your magic gets to go off.
I at least had some fun in the first and second games. Here, I stopped after an hour of questing since it was the same game but making the best part of the already bad combat worse. I'd rather play the other two, or just one of the Monster Hunter games or God Eater, or anything else. No amount of Lucy Underboob can keep me here. Alyssa's though, that's classic.
Don't forget to subscribe!
I'm just throwing up the rest, baby, stack it to the ceiling.